Everyone, I appreciate you joining the session today. Session's called "Can we really check the excellent oral and written communication skills box on a job application?" Again, my name's William Tippy. Just I think. Ooh, let me. Here we go. Oh, there's the IT difficulties. Talisa did a great introduction. Again, my name is William Tippy. I'm a principal consultant at FireEye Mandiant. I've been in the industry for 7 years now, serving a little bit of time in the engineering department. I worked on our EDR agent, our endpoint detection and response agent that the company sells. And for the last 5 years, I've been in incident response consulting. So that is responding to cybersecurity incidents for our clients and helping them to remediate, investigate, and then get back to normal as much as possible. I do have 2 bachelor's degrees, so I had a previous life working as a personal trainer. So I haven't always been in this field, but this is definitely what has drawn me at this point in my life. What I want to do over the next 20 minutes or so here is get everyone thinking about communication skills and how they can transition from the education world into the corporate world. Now, I do come from a background, and a lot of the information in this presentation, the interviews and things like that I've done, go back into the corporate world. This doesn't have a lot of input from academia, and so some of these things may not be applicable in that space. And this really is looking at more of a corporate environment. So the number one thing that I notice when I talk to employers about what kinds of skill sets are needed in new grads, the one thing that people always say is communication skills. It's usually the one thing that that is somewhat of a complaint. When I talk to new graduates that are going back as alumni now to speak with students at their respective universities and talking to them about what life is like in the real world, so to speak, oftentimes the first thing they say, the most important thing they say is we need to work on our communication skills, being able to write, being able to present, being able to talk to people and work in groups. And so I think that obviously shows that there's an importance there, and there's some sort of a discrepancy there in what we are allowing our students to come out of college or university with in terms of a skill set. But what I want to do here is look at are the requirements that we list in our job requirements actually applicable to the job that people are applying for? So one of the things that we're going to do here is talk about the importance of communication skills in a variety of different jobs. We'll go over some examples here shortly. But also, are we really stating those job requirements correctly? A lot of times, as I said in the title of the session, we see a box for needs to have excellent oral and written communication skills. Well, is that always necessary for an entry-level programmer or a SOC analyst? Because I see that same thing for an entry-level job as well as like a CISO job or as some sort of an architect job. So I see this the same text, and is it just an afterthought, or is it something that's actually important for these jobs? So we want to make sure that we're really saying the right thing, making sure the requirements are correct. And then finally, I want to talk about where the best place to address this is, whether this is an issue or not, and what could we do within the education system to take a pass at improving these communication skills. So I doubt anyone's going to argue that communication skills are not important in this field or really in any field. But I want to verbalize a few examples so that we're all talking on the same page, and we're all talking about the same thing. So as some examples, first of all, good entry-level position like a tier 1 or 2 SOC analyst. This person's going to spend most of their day-to-day job looking at alerts, looking at information that's coming in, looking through spreadsheets and dashboards and things like that. But at the end of the day, they are going to need to write incident reports. They are going to need to talk to their clients and give status updates at some point in their career or at some point in this role. They'll also need to work with their manager and give updates and things like that. So those are all communication skills that are necessary. Someone like a security engineer as well. Most of their day-to-day work is going to be in coding or setting up configurations, things like that. But they will still be required at some point to do design documentation. They will need to attend meetings. They will need to voice their opinion and work with their coworkers as part of their day-to-day job. Someone like a security architect, while they may not be getting down in the nitty-gritty, this might be the more typical thought of communication skills. They need to be putting together budgets. They need to be putting together proposals. They need to speak with management, speak with boards of directors to get funding or to approve projects and things like that. Then also, you know, the security industry isn't always the defensive side of things. There is also the offensive side. So even for someone like a red teamer who expects to spend most of their time behind a keyboard doing nefarious things, they are still going to need to provide after action reports. They're going to need to be able to very concisely and clearly define what they did in order to accomplish an objective and what an individual or a corporation can do to improve themselves in the future. And also, they don't want their phishing emails to look like they're, you know, Nigerian princes. So, you know, they want to make sure that those things are nice and believable and well written, things like that. Everybody, regardless of whether this is security or any other industry, is going to have some sort of team interaction. Unless you're an independent security researcher, you will be working with other people. And even in that regard, you will be working with other people. And also client and customer interactions. A lot of times, security organizations, not just a consulting firm like mine, but any sort of SOC or security organization within a company is usually treating the other departments that they're working for as customers. And so having that, being able to communicate like that is definitely important across a variety of roles. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to do in researching this this particular topic was talk to managers that I get to work with throughout the industry and a variety of industries about how they feel about new graduate individuals or new employees. So in speaking with these hiring managers and executives and people like that, what we definitely understand is that they expect new grads to have softer soft skills. They don't necessarily expect these people to be prolific communicators and perfect writers and things like that, but they know that they can mold these people to their expectations. When you take an experienced individual, you hire someone with a few years of experience, you're not going to have that malleability, but you may have slightly more improved soft skills. But again, going back to it, that communication skills are really the number one concern that they have. Technical aptitude, not really too much of a concern for people that are hiring. When I really talked about whether with people whether communication skills are really a concern for these more of like entry level positions or you know, lower level junior kind of positions, what I found was that the expectations, as I was just saying, were not really as high. And so when people make the statement that, you know, the communication skills aren't exactly up to par, they may not have the technical writing skills that they want, but then the role itself isn't expected to perform at that level. And so, for example, here at Mandiant, where I work, it's primarily senior level individuals and contributors that are really speaking with our customers. And it's usually probably about a year before you're ever going to be delivering something externally, whether it's a report or a presentation or some other piece of documentation. And I've seen that a lot in other places as well. You don't have new people communicating externally or really putting together this big documentations where you need that precision in technical writing or that precision in presenting a proposal or findings or something like that. And so I think that when we're looking for individuals, I think we really need to do a little bit better job setting the expectations for what those jobs that we are advertising are really going to be. So continuing on from there, I've got kind of a very qualitative graph here in terms of skills. So you look at technical skills, verbal communication skills, and written communication skills. technical skills over the years have increased tremendously. The technical skills for cybersecurity graduates or just computer graduates in general. Now, communication skills are also increasing. Like we've definitely seen an uptick in how people talk and communicate and write over time, but it's not as drastic of an increase as those technical skills are. And so my question is, what of this can we attribute to education at the moment? And for the future, how much of this burden of increasing communication skills can we actually put onto the education system? So to look a little bit deeper into that last point, what of this can be attributed to the education system? I did an online survey of Virginia colleges and universities. So I took a sampling of 22 higher education institutions within the state and looked at where there were actual true cybersecurity programs, and then also what kinds of communications requirements did those schools have. And so through the 22 that I looked into, 12 of them had some sort of a specific cybersecurity program, whether it was a major. Most of them had a major program. I think it was about 10 of them had a major in cybersecurity. Some of them were just minors, some concentrations within a computer science or computer engineering major. And the other ones had some sort of an advanced program, like a master's without an accompanying undergrad degree. The other schools did all have some sort of either computer science or computer engineering degree, so I didn't take those out of consideration. Personally, I came from a computer science degree background, and I don't think that anyone within the security industry would discount someone with a non-cybersecurity degree. I don't think there's really kind of an issue there. It's more of a how you want to go about learning and finding out your path forward in education system. Looking into the communication skills side of things, I found that all but 3 colleges and universities only required the general education requirements. So 19 out of those 22 communication skills were included in your general education requirements, but they weren't specific to your major. 3 of those schools did actually include some sort of technical related communications. They were, I think, two out of the 3 were written communication skills. And what was interesting though was that all 3 of those schools that did have a requirement for higher level technical communication skills did not also have cybersecurity programs. So those were all either computer engineering or computer science programs that required that higher level technical communications. There were also 3 schools, not amongst those, that offered some sort of technical management electives, which I found interesting as well. It's not directly a public speaking or like a oral communications or a technical writing kind of requirement, but they did offer electives that were in some other type of soft skill, which I found very interesting, and I definitely feel like is important here and is something that we could look into. Other coursework that's not necessarily those hard technical skills. A lot of universities have some sort of a capstone course or like a senior seminar or even a thesis. And as I touched on, there were some of those management courses available at a few colleges. So it wouldn't do us right to just look at Virginia in a bubble and not take into account anything else. I had some discussions with people that came out of other states or other institutions. I just wanted to bring those up and discuss them briefly here. One thing is that there are a number of liberal arts schools, both in state and elsewhere, and those are kind of hard to quantify, as I had on the previous slide, really, in terms of numbers of courses and the direction of the courses. They don't really fit that type of analysis, but in theory, that holistic type of education should provide some sort of extra exposure to communication skills, those soft skills, leadership, and things like that. There are other schools that offer more specialized topics, specialized majors or certificates even. So some of the individuals that work at my organization at Mandiant have come from schools that have direct digital forensics programs. And while those are definitely more focused, there's not a lot of room for expansion into other areas beyond just that forensics element. They do have a higher degree of technical writing because they were focused in on doing forensic reports and things that could be presented as evidence in front of a jury. So they got a lot more uh, focus, for lack of a better term, on those specific technical writing skills. So we definitely do see a difference in someone who has a significant amount of coursework directly related and having to constantly be writing these forensic reports over someone that maybe hasn't done this before. Depending on the school, and then also depending on the school you go to, and even the course or even the professor, that's teaching that course, you're going to have different projects. You're going to have maybe senior seminars or group projects, or even be required to do internships. So there are definitely not smaller, like more granular places where you'd be able to get some of these experiences outside of just those hard technical skills. These aren't necessarily defined by like required curriculum, but they are options for you that are going to be available. Now, something that always comes up in these types of discussions is resources outside of the classroom. So is the required curriculum and the coursework for a particular major, is that everything that you're going to get out of the college or university experience? And that answer is definitely no, especially nowadays. We see a lot of emphasis being put on CTS, so capture the flags, on hackathons, lots of cybersecurity clubs popping up at universities that have very high membership and very high membership involvement. And also conferences, not just going to the conferences and doing the networking, but I've seen a number of places where we actually have students, whether they're college or even younger, actually doing some of these presentations, and that's definitely a skill set that you have available to you, and an experience that you have available to you a lot earlier on than you typically think about. Now, doing these things outside the classroom looks good on a resume. It shows a lot of motivation. Doesn't always translate into someone that has more improved communications or even technical skills, but it certainly shows that motivation and that interest. So what I haven't done over the course of looking into this topic and doing this research is really come to like a hard conclusion. I think initially when I started doing research and when I decided on this topic, I thought to myself that there's definitely a lack of communication skills that can be addressed in the university or college curriculums. But as I talk to people, I realize that really I think the issue is that we may be putting too much of an expectation on our new hires. We don't, in theory. So when we actually get someone into the organization that just comes out of college, I don't have tremendously high expectations for their ability to write or communicate orally. I would love for them to have those skills, but if they don't have them, I know that I can help them get to that point, and I know that they have a solid base. So my first question as a closing thought is, are pretty good communication skills really a bad thing? Do they really have to be excellent? Sometimes the independent work aspect of a cybersecurity or a technical degree, the idea that you can just sit there and do your coding, or sit behind a computer screen, you don't actually have to talk to people, is a draw for some people. And I don't want to, I don't think we as an industry want to make those people feel uncomfortable or like they can't apply for a job because we say something like you need to have excellent, oral communication skills. So I don't think that having pretty good communication skills is really a bad thing, in my opinion. But I'm curious to see how people feel about that. I think as a result of my survey, it showed that the education system doesn't put a huge emphasis on technical communications. That's just sort of a fact here. We see very few schools that actually have that as a degree requirement. But as the next point says, you have these high achieving new grads, they find their own ways to improve those communication skills and to bolster those experiences and those skills. The opportunities are there if you want to look for them, but we aren't necessarily requiring it right now. So if I had to draw a conclusion here at the end of this, I would say that I think the idea of adding more technical writing requirements, or at least electives, to a program would definitely help. For those individuals that are just not into public speaking, don't have any desire to be a manager or give a presentation or work directly with a client, I don't want to kind of put those people off or make them feel uncomfortable. And I think that's kind of how the education system sits right now. But for those people that do have those aspirations, I think it's important to give them the options and the opportunities to do that. And I think that by providing coursework at the university level or even before that, in the form of either technical presenting, technical management, technical writing courses that are available as electives, even if they're not true requirements, would definitely give people the incentive to take those kinds of things. I know that personally in school, it's very unlikely that I would have wanted to take a technical speaking class, but if it was an elective and if we had like a writing elective and somebody really pushed and said, this is really important for you, I might have taken something like that. So, I want to look at it from my own perspective, from the perspective of my coworkers, from the perspective of people that I've talked to around the industry, and make sure that we're not putting like undue and unnecessary requirements in front of people. So I appreciate everyone taking the time to listen here.